why so many men have given up on relationships and dating in general today. So let's check out a couple videos and we'll go over a few points.
Did you know that over 60% of men under 30 are single? That's according to a 2022 Pew Research Center survey, and it highlights a growing problem in today's dating world.
That's a big change.
Many men feel frustrated, left out, and dissatisfied with their sex lives and relationships. Social media, dating apps, and a competitive dating culture only exacerbate the problem for men who already feel left behind. On top of that, labels like incel can make men internalize these struggles, feeling like they've failed. In this video, we'll explore why so many men feel disillusioned by modern dating and what's driving this growing frustration. The attractiveness gap. According to a study by dating app OkCupid, about 80% of men were rated unattractive or simply below average by women. This perceived gap in attractiveness is one of the driving factors behind why young men feel they're never enough in the dating world. Because if most women deem them ugly, what chance do they have against the 20% who are considered attractive? Additionally, men are perceived to be less selective and pickier about female attractiveness, especially when it comes to trying to find matches on dating apps like Tinder and Hinge. Back in 2017, Aviv Goldgeier, an engineer for the popular app Hinge, analyzed data from the platform and found that men initiate matches 3 times more often than women.
Yeah, it's a lot of the problem like that right there. Some of the other things, there's just the whole financial pressure nowadays, I believe is a big reason why men have kind of given up and walked away of dating. Like just the cost of living and everything nowadays. You hear about so many people struggling, so many people can't pay their rent. The cost of food, groceries is going up. Wages are definitely not keeping up with inflation. And, there's still traditional expectations remain. Like the guy most of the time is expected to pay for the first date or pay for going out to a movie or whatever it might be. So, you have traditional roles being still expected to be lived up to by men. And at the same time, there's just not that much money. So it just puts men in a really bad place to go out to go out on a date like that when there's just those types of expectations in this economy, and men are still expected to pay for things like that. And like the risk versus reward just feels a lot worse nowadays compared to what it was like before. It used to be pretty normal. You could go out on a date and, I don't think the ghosting was as much, or, you could expect to have kind of a normal relationship because there just wasn't that much social media pressure and an endless amount of options for women and even men, to be fair. I mean, like a lot of times you'll go on a date, come back, what's the first thing people do? Oh, they'll check out their dating app, swipe, who else is there? What else is next, And that's like a real big change that's actually happened. And when it comes to the dating, like the math just seems to be not really worth it anymore, as far as like the money that you have to pay, what's expected of you, and kind of like the things that you actually get back from that. So the financial part of it is a really big part too. We're going to get into the social media aspect as well, of course.
I don't know that there's any good reason for men today to get married.
This guy's good. I like that.
Most men today aren't very religious. So if you're not religious, you certainly don't really have a reason to get married. Why would you invite the government into your relationship? And especially in a world today where everyone harps so much on the legality of things between men and women and the financial differences between men and women. And the courts, it's so one-sided in women's favor in every
That's right.
possible way that it's laughably silly to even consider getting married outside of religious reasons. And nobody is.
That's very true too. Like, I mean, a lot of the people nowadays are just not as religious anymore. And you got to think, like, what does marriage actually do for you other than like you said, invite the government into your life, and you're signing a legal contract that you're bound by, and all the negatives that go along with it. Like the fear of divorce is actually really a big one too, as far as taking dating beyond just dating if you do want to get married, and that, because everybody's heard the stats before. We'll go over them quickly in case anybody hasn't. 50% of marriages end in divorce nowadays. Of those divorces, 70 to 80% of those are initiated by women. And the courts heavily favor women when it comes to these divorces. So right off the bat, men are fighting a losing battle. And it's no wonder wonder. A lot of them don't even want to take part in that anymore. There's massive financial consequences. Like, you could lose part of your retirement, your wages can get garnished. If you have kids, you can be paying child support payments. In fact, you pretty much will always be paying child support payments, especially if you make more than your ex-wife does. You will definitely be paying quite a lot. Marriage just really feels like a high stakes, low reward type of an arrangement nowadays, compared to, maybe decades and decades ago, when divorce wasn't nearly as common. Like back in like the 50s and 60s, and even before that, it was much less common to have divorce. But nowadays the relationships are throwaway. Everybody seems to be getting divorced now, and it doesn't even seem like that's going to change. It seems like, if anything, it's only going to be getting worse. Long-term financial consequences, like if you lose part of your retirement, which you might, like your 401k, RSP, whatever you might have going on, and you got to give part of that to your ex, depending on how old you are when you get married, you're not going to have time to gain a lot of that stuff back. Like, I mean, if you're 10 years to retirement and you lose half of it, like, I mean, you're screwed. You really are, because you don't have time on your side for your money to compound and grow and to get yourself out of the hole that marriage dug for you. A lot of guys just are kind of walking away from that whole scene.
That never leaves. Once upon a time, he cared too much. He wrote long messages that went unread. He waited for calls that never came. He gave love in full measure to people who only took what was convenient. He tried to be the man who understands, the one who listens, the one who holds everything together when it's falling apart. But no one ever asked what it cost him. No one noticed how heavy it got. They told him to be strong, to stop overthinking, to just move on. So he did. At first it was a defense. Then it became a habit. And eventually it became who he was. The man who used to talk stopped. The man who used to love deeply withdrew. The man who used to hope vanished. Now he wears calmness like armor. He smiles when he's breaking. He laughs when he feels nothing. He says, "I'm good," because no one wants the truth anymore. But inside he knows what really happened. He didn't stop believing in love. Love stopped believing in him. It stopped rewarding his honesty. It stopped nurturing his effort. It stopped making him feel safe. And so he fell silent. Not out of hatred, but out of exhaustion. Because there's only so many times a man can reach out and touch nothing before his heart goes numb. This is the birth of the masculine void, not...
Yeah, there's like a big exhaustion when it comes to dating. And to back up just a second, I really think like a lot of people harp on social media, and I think it really is for good reason too. And some people push back against that as like, oh, you overreact with social media, but it's really not. I mean, like, when you have an endless amount of options, and much more so for women, like you saw the stats at the beginning of the video, where women just have endless options, they just swipe, and they get tons of messages. Like, you put out a profile and you're a good looking girl, you're gonna have more options than you ever have in the past. And you get addicted to that, like that dopamine hit every time you get a match or a like, and women have like that in spades, and they just absolutely get addicted to that type of attention. And they're only human, right? Like, I mean, men do it too. When you get a match, it makes you feel good, but imagine getting like 10 times that amount of validation on a daily basis. It's just addicting. And if you ever get into a serious relationship like that, it's hard for them to put that away. It's like, okay, you want to commit to somebody or whatever, but then you expect them to not be on dating apps, so they're going to feel like they're missing out. The grass is always greener. Like, they're gonna miss that validation. They're gonna miss those dopamine hits of getting all those matches all the time, almost basically just like an addict. They're gonna want to go back on the dating apps and start scrolling again. And meanwhile, the guy is going to be on the losing end of that proposition for sure, because he's not going to have anywhere near that type of attention that the girl is going to get. And there's like public relationship performance too. Like, how many girls post pictures of their anniversary, their date nights out, and you're expected to compete with that. Oh, this other, your chick's gonna say, oh yeah, well, my friend, look what this guy did. Oh, he bought her this, he took her to this place, they went on this vacation for her anniversary, they did this. And in this economy, what are you expected to just go out and like break yourself just to keep up with somebody else on social media, where it's probably not even real? No wonder people are just sick of that. Like, I just going out for dinner. on a date with a chick. Like, why would you want to take out a chick for dinner on a first date where, one, you don't even know if she's going to like you? I don't even know if I'm going to like her. And how do you know how many other guys she's going on these first dinner dates with? It's just like, especially what if you got kind of catfish? She doesn't look as great as she did in her pictures or whatever. Like, why would you want to sit through an expensive dinner, one that you're going to be expected to pay for, when the chick that you're taking out, you're not even interested in? So, I mean, that's not to sound cheap, but I mean, it's just to be realistic. Like, why not go out for dinner and have a dinner date maybe when you have gone out on a handful of dates and you might know this is going somewhere? Then you can be a bit more generous and spend. But, on a complete stranger, that's what I say, go on a coffee date, man. Go for a walk, do something, pretty cheap on the first date. But I mean, if you're like, you have that financial stability about yourself, you got a really high paying job and you want to play that game, you don't care if you blow cash, well, yeah, go ahead, but I mean, most people and most guys are just not in that position where they have that sort of disposable income to just blow like that. So I don't blame people for kind of stepping away from that and just go on a quick coffee date or something like that. It is much easier and much better, especially when there's a good chance you're going to get ghosted. You take her out for a great dinner, what's she going to do? She's going to be right back at home again, swipe 15 minutes later after you drop her off or whatever. So it's just not even worth it. Let's check out there's one last video here.
Listen, you can call it a crisis, a phase, or a silent rebellion, but something is happening quietly all around you. Men are walking away, not out of hate, not out of bitterness, but out of exhaustion. They're not fighting, they're not arguing, they're simply stepping back. And the world doesn't seem to notice. You can see it if you look closely in the way men have stopped chasing, stopped texting first, stopped planning the dates, stopped trying to fix what keeps breaking. It's not that they don't care anymore, it's that they finally realized caring too much in the wrong place can destroy you.
Exactly.
For years, men were told they needed to do more, make more money, be more confident, communicate better, dress sharper, love harder, and they did, but somehow it was never enough. Every time they improved, the goalposts moved. Every time they gave, the gratitude disappeared. Now the same men who once dreamed about marriage, who wanted to build something real, they're sitting alone in apartments that are finally quiet. No yelling, no chaos, no confusion, just peace. And that peace, it feels better than love ever did, because modern love, at least the way it's sold, started to feel like a debt you could never pay off. A man could give his time, his effort, his loyalty, his entire heart, and still be told he's not enough. Still be compared to someone richer, taller, more exciting, more mysterious.
The endless
So men
comparison
stopped playing the
cycle.
game. They stopped auditioning for roles they never applied for. They stopped chasing people who saw them as replaceable. And something unexpected happened. When they stopped chasing, they found clarity. When they stopped proving, they found power. And when they stopped dating, they found peace. But here's the truth.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people really are stepping away from that, is because men have been told, oh, level up, you just have to do a little bit better, improve yourself. And really, men have been doing that. They have been trying really hard, and they're getting exhausted from that, because a lot of the time, there just isn't the payoff for it. And men are thinking, well, is this even really worth it? Like, why should I keep, being rejected, keep getting ghosted, keep swiping about 100 times to maybe get one match, start a little conversation and get ghosted? Like, so many men are really experiencing that, and it's no wonder they're just kind of sick of it, because like, what else are they supposed to do to meet people? A lot of the times, like, what are you going to do? Go to a grocery store, like, start approaching somebody in the produce aisle? Like, not many men are going to be doing that. A few will, but that's not easy, and a lot of people are not at a grocery store to get picked up in that. And it's really, you hear about stuff like that, like, women say, oh, well, why can't I meet my husband in a grocery store? But that's just not reality. That's the movies. I've never seen anybody pick somebody up in a grocery store. Like, if anything, it's walking down the street, cold approaches and that, but not every guy is going to be into doing that. And if you don't want to do that, then, what other options do you have? Like, not many people go out to bars and clubs anymore, and not even everybody is even into that scene. Like, there's a lot less drinking and stuff that goes on nowadays, and bars and clubs aren't what they used to be for the most part, depending on where you live. So you don't even have that really option. So what are you back to? Online dating again. And we all know, like, a lot of the time you have a small fraction, whatever, you can argue what percentage it is, 20%, 10% of the men are getting 80 to 90% of the attention from women. And so, you are an average guy, whatever, like, you know, you're going to get overlooked. You're going to get swiped by 9 times out of 10. You're going to get swiped by and overlooked because there's just so many more options. Like there's guys from all over the world that are competing for the same women. So it's not easy for men out there nowadays. It's definitely, the playing field has really changed. And, you know, I think a lot of people are really starting to wake up for the fact that under the current rules and the way things are, it just isn't worth it anymore. It's just things have changed so much, and I don't know what it's going to take to get things to go back to the way they were before, because it doesn't really seem like we're headed in that direction. If anything, it's just going more online, and I just don't really know what the answer is. It's pretty scary. I really feel for a lot of the younger guys out there nowadays that really have to go through all this and put up with this stuff. Like back in my day, it was just, oh yeah, go to the bar, get drunk and whatever, and that's kind of what I used to do. But you know, I've really taken myself out of the dating market in the last many years. Really have not bothered, because I see how it is. Like I've made personally, you know, I probably don't put as much effort into my online profiles and pictures as I could and should, but you know, I'll send out a bunch of messages and get like hardly anything back. And like some of these chicks, like not to be rude or whatever, but some of these chicks I send messages to are like not, I wouldn't even consider in my league, and they don't even reply to me. Or the few that do, sometimes you get ghosted. So it's just like, what the fuck is this, man? This is garbage. So you just get kind of sick of all that. So anyways, I don't know, leave some messages in the comments. Tell me what you guys think. Is there any kind of hope that this is going to get better, or are we kind of like, are we going down a really kind of dark path that it's going to have to get a lot worse before it gets better? Or like, I mean, as you know, the Pandora's box been opened with this online dating and the validation and like the social media addiction, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be like. But all I know is that right now things are not looking that great, and I know why, and can definitely understand why a lot of guys nowadays are getting really frustrated with it and are just kind of accepting the peace, you know, enjoying the solitude, enjoying the peace of mind, and you know, doing other things like vacations, hobbies, saving money, and just enjoying their own company. And you know, I think that's a good thing.